This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
It's a Therapy Monday, guys, right? We're doing therapy. So Therapy Mike is with us. Mike Irwin from Pig Trail Nation to talk us through what happened Friday and some thoughts on the football season. Hey, you got basketball tonight, so we can move on for a couple of weeks, I guess. But Mike, this is, I'm kind of like hanging by a thread, just waiting to see the first announcement and very lengthy post put out by somebody involving Arkansas football and social media, announcing that they love their time here and God's plan and everything, but they're moving on to somewhere else. So I guess we can't necessarily move on until we start seeing everybody else start to move on. It's going to be a week like that, right?
Well, that's what we're being told, that there's going to be some shocking developments, some guys leaving that you wouldn't think would leave, but it's all part of some plan of bringing other people in. And until it plays out, I mean, we can sit around and worry about it, and fans can talk about it, but you got to wait for the whole picture, I think, to react to individuals leaving without knowing in the end who comes in. It's just way too early to start evaluating that. We'll just have to see how it happens.
Well, we don't know who's going to leave or yet, but what does this team need to go out and try to get in the transfer portal? When you go 6-6, you need help in a lot of areas. So when they are trying to go out and get some pieces, what pieces do you think they're going to go get?
Well, obviously, I think they need to bring in at least one linebacker like they did last year, like a Drew Sanders. You've got one young guy, Paul, who's very solid and came on at the end of the year. I think you might look at another one. Maybe some help along the D-line. Obviously, they continue to need help in the secondary. I would be very shocked if they don't come up with and I've said this before, a backup quarterback who will play some. In other words, you're not coming here just to sit on the bench. This idea that if KJ comes back, maybe they don't need to play him every down, because that's how you get beat up. Maybe it's the idea that he reduces the number of reps, as long as you can find somebody that comes in the game and things don't go backwards when that person comes in. So maybe they can find somebody like that. I think you'll see maybe a receiver come in, just things like that. Sam Pittman has said that he's got to do this. He doesn't want to do it. He'd rather develop freshmen, but the way the portal is right now, these things are instant fixes. When you bring somebody in out of the portal, you don't have to wait a year or two. If you get the right person, it's an instant fix. So I think that's what they'll be looking for, instant fixes at certain positions where they need help. And maybe, I don't know that you bring in an offensive lineman or two, but my view on the O-line looking back on this whole year is those guys were experienced and they were big, but I'm not sure how athletic some of those guys were. They really had problems with quicker defenses and dealing with some of that stuff. And I've had people tell me there were really good four-star people that, keep in mind, those guys were Morris's players, that Pittman has recruited some four-star offensive linemen that haven't been starting. So I don't know if some of them move up or if you try to go in and get a person or two like that. Without knowing what's out there in the portal, and it's not just what's out there, it's what you have a good indication they might be coming here. It's just all cloudy to me right now. I'm going to sit back and just wait and see what happens.
I would wonder, too, if it comes to the offensive line, if they might bring in a tackle or two, just for the reasons that you stated there. And, I mean, this is going to be the year that the offensive line gets rebuilt to a point in a way where it hadn't in the past couple of years. So, and we all expected that with Sam Pittman as the head coach at Arkansas, that the line of scrimmage would become a strength. And I think it was offensively last year, if not defensively all the time. And then this season, Mike, it was just sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. And I think you're right. Looking back on the teams they played this last month, and this is what we're going to remember, is the last month. Losing to Liberty, struggling to move the ball at all against LSU, a mirage against Ole Miss, and then what happened on Friday. Quick defensive lines, they gave Arkansas a lot of trouble. But then, they did get pushed around on Friday. I did see that. I mean, I don't know how many. What was it? 7 sacks from Missouri, Mike? KJ probably escaped another 4 or 5. It was that was the thing that really got to me. And the other aspect of Friday's game, Mike, is Mizzou shouldn't be scoring 29 points against anybody in the SEC. So it's just a lot to look at from Friday, unfortunately.
Well, again, I tend to be. I understand that fans, Arkansas fans, are going to look at every game insulated, isolated within that game. I watch the whole conference thing all year long, and I see trends. And what I see this year was one of the most bizarre overall SEC years I've seen in a long time. When have you seen a year in which the SEC West champion lost to the last place team in the West? But that's just what we just saw. What about Missouri? How did they come closer to beating Georgia than anybody else, but go to Auburn and lose to Auburn? It's been that way all year long with all of these teams. And Arkansas has been a part of that. They 3 2-point losses and a 3-point loss. It separates them from being 10-2 right now. And I'm not trying to say that that's an excuse, but it is reality. And Arkansas is not the only team that had these up and down wacko. How did you do this? But then you did that. It just happened to a lot of teams. And it occurs to me that the conference itself was a little more balanced than it's been in a long, long time. When was the year in which Vanderbilt could step up and beat a couple of teams they shouldn't beat? What about Tennessee that was just a few weeks ago, everybody's talking about they're going to win the national championship, and dude, they just kind of fall apart all of a sudden. It didn't just happen to Arkansas. It happened to a lot of teams. It's just that Razorback fans are still suffering from that Chad Morris into the Bielema era hangover, and they thought we were past all of this stuff, and then this jumps up, and the whole Missouri thing just annoys the fool out of people because the fans keep getting lectured by some people in the media about you don't take this seriously enough. You cannot convince Razorback fans to view Missouri as a rival. They are not to those fans. Texas gets them excited. Oklahoma, when they come into the league, will. They like playing LSU. They get excited about playing Alabama. They keep thinking this is the year we beat them. What about Missouri is supposed to excite you? If they were great, if they were winning 8, 9, 10 games a year, then you might get excited. But on the other hand, guys, why is Missouri excited? Are you kidding me? Drinkwitz is running around, jumping around at the end of the game like they just beat Georgia when they beat a 6-5 team. Is nobody in Missouri asking that question? Why are we getting excited about that? Arkansas wasn't world beaters this year. Why are you excited because you beat them? It's a bizarre type thing all the way around.
I honestly don't think the Missouri fans could care any less about the Battle Line rivalry. I think they care about it the same way Arkansas fans care about it. And to be honest,
you're right. It's their players.
Fans in the stadium on Friday, Mike, looked like Razorback fans. I think they almost outnumbered the Mizzou fans. So neither fan base buys into it. Neither of them do.
It's just somehow the Missouri players, somehow they get them to buy into it. And I'm not one of them. I don't know what said. Somebody tried to tell me that I didn't see this, that Drinkwitz blamed this on Chuck Barrett or something. Did he say something that fired up Missouri fans? I don't know. It's just weird. This whole thing is, why did their players think this is such a big game?
You ever been called out in the media like that by a coach, Mike? I thought that's so bizarre. It was so bizarre.
Well, he should have called me out because I've been calling him Dinkiewicz for 2 years. I'm offended that he wasn't mad at me. But I mean, it's just wacky. The whole thing is just, I don't know. I'm not one of their players, but if I'm a Missouri player, I'm sitting there thinking, why is my head coach trying to tell me this is the biggest game of the year? I would be fired up about playing Georgia. I'd be fired up about playing Tennessee. I'd be fired up against playing Georgia. Florida. Those type teams, not Arkansas. It's okay, but they're a 6-5 football team.
Wherever you can find motivation, I don't. These kids these days, what are you going to do?
I don't know, Matt. Did anybody ever fire you up about Vanderbilt
You
or
know,
somebody?
I never played Vanderbilt when I was there. We played them in basketball, and we got them in basketball. I was just ready to play, Mike. It didn't take a whole lot. We had Coach Nutt going to get you fired up. But I was ready.
Fire you up.
You know, I was ready. I was always ready for game day.
I just, again, somebody told me, Matt, you were there. I don't know if this story's true, that Jim Lindsey came in and tried to fire you guys up before that Texas game that year. And I was told the reaction after was, why does he need to fire us up? We're going to go down and play him. We'll beat him. I don't know that firing people up is the way this happens. I guess it somehow does at Missouri, but I agree with you. I think you just should always want to play. Go out there and bust your butt, and then you don't want to play. I mean, if you're going to go through all those workouts and all that off-season crud and everything, and you've got 12 games to play, to me, every one of them would be huge.
Right. Yeah. No, it was cool to see Jim and Jerry Jones, and that just kind of just added to it. But, yeah, you don't need any motivation to play Texas.
Mike, I got to ask you about basketball for a moment here. You saw the statement from Muss, which really, I mean, it caught me by surprise when it dropped in my email box yesterday. But then I keep thinking about it, and it's like, well, I mean, the Creighton game, it wasn't that he did anything in the Creighton game, but you could see the intensity and the foot stomping and everything. And you play the very next day, and the emotions are running high. It's a program that I think he hates, and they feel the same way about him. And then whatever happened and all that, but is Eric Musselman too intense on the bench?
You know, I don't think so. I like that. I think a lot of fans do. I did read some fans on Facebook saying, "Oh, that's not good." But the problem with that, guys, was that initial story came from a San Diego newspaper reporter, and he wrote it from their standpoint. Did he interview any Arkansas fans? Because I saw Arkansas fans coming on Twitter and saying I was a few feet away from all that. And that's what I'm telling you is they were cussing at him. They were yelling at him, and he turned around and did the L thing on his forehead and walked off. But that story was written as if he did all this other stuff, and then it got picked up by one Arkansas media person, and the New York Post got it, and they're all regurgitating what the San Diego guy wrote, and he wrote a one-sided story. Who went and interviewed Arkansas fans that were there? What really happened? First of all, I'm not sure, but the video didn't show anything that I saw that Musselman did. I'm not saying he didn't, but he ends up apologizing, which is okay. He did the politically correct thing to do, but I don't think people want to go back to losing basketball games and having someone, be really classy. Come on, get fired up, beat them. Their fans I saw that one parent that jumped down there and was trying to go after him. I mean, that's kind of a bad deal. So there ought to be reaction to that, not whatever everybody was reacting to. The New York Post put this big picture that you didn't see the top of Musselman's hands, but it looked like he was shooting somebody the finger until you see the whole picture when you look at it, and it's him holding up two fingers during the game. So there was a lot of misleading stuff that got put out there.
Well, it was a heck of a great game to watch.
Yeah,
and really
awesome.
all the games they played there were entertaining, and now we get back to Troy and the other games of the non-conference schedule that just aren't quite as exciting. And honestly, I don't know too much about Troy basketball right now, but they're not what you played against in Maui, so it feels a bit like a come down.
Well, I've been watching some of these other SEC teams play these early games, and I'm telling you guys, based on what I'm seeing so far, it's going to be a brutal SEC schedule. I'm telling you, Tennessee is good. Mississippi State is good. Alabama is good. Kentucky's kind of struggling a little bit. But this is not going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be a battle every night. And you're going to need Bud Walton to be at its best, and I think that's what we'll have. I really look forward to seeing that place pretty much full and everybody understanding the importance of all these games. It won't just be Kentucky or somebody like that. There'll be some really good battles this year from teams that maybe you don't normally see that from. And again, if you have a balanced SEC, it's better overall to me, just like in football. I like it when you have a lot of teams showing ability to win certain games rather than just everybody falls over and lets Alabama run all over them. Alabama didn't have a great year, and nobody's even paying any attention to that. There's signs that football it's equalizing a little bit, and maybe it's happening that way in basketball too, and I like it.
Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.